Dude, Phoebe's on a tear. Phoebe's on a tire. Notification squad. $800-588-2300 Empire. I'm so goddamn sick of hearing about Dave Chappelle. I wonder if other trans people just aren't triggered by seeing different outtakes from his special because they're all over my feed. I don't know. Really don't care. Really don't care. I mean, I see exactly what's going on with it. Like, the overall sensitive nature of society is being monetized by Netflix. And, I'd rather not take part in the further monetization of it. Like, that's just the way it goes. If I'm going to help out a company, with free advertising and free discussion and shit, I'm going to believe in the message of that company. Weed, please. Do you like your job? Yeah. I've got a good job. Got a weird job, but it's a good job. It's a cool job. Has its perks and its downsides. Blah. Bzz, bzz. Get out of here, flies. Oh. Well, it's just become assimilated, Phoebes. Like, cancel culture has become part of the landscape that informs people about, our society and our civilization and our entertainment and stuff. And so it's become a topic of monetization. It's no longer just an accountability movement, I guess is what you would call it. It's now entertainment. So I watched this really interesting documentary the other day. I was turned off by it at first because it, at the beginning, features narration by Monica Lewinsky, and I was like, dude, I really don't want to hear about nothing but Monica Lewinsky. But it was called, the documentary is called 15 Minutes of Shame. And it was kind of a meta-examination of public shaming in history and how it has morphed in modern times into this gigantic beast of a collective kind of pastime where people feel good because they're doing good things by exposing bad people, but of course none of these people are investigators, and none of it allots for the humanity of any of the people that are doing these quote-unquote cancelable things. Covers a bunch of instances where people were canceled, and a few of them obviously canceled like for no reason at all. The glee with which people slowly descend into dehumanization of these people. Like, people will, I've received this shit where it's like people will just straight up threaten your life. Just be like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. If I see you in the streets, I'm gonna fucking murder you. And it's just like, it's risen to that point. Because you're wrong, well, in this case, perceived I'm wrong on the internet, and you've got this cloak of anonymity and this mass movement in society backing your decision to go after these quote unquote influencers, celebrities, average fucking people who get blown up on the internet. It gives people this sense of like moral superiority when really all they're doing is engaging in witch hunts and scalping schadenfreude off of other people's misery, deepening their own. It's a really interesting topic, and it's definitely something that we've talked about both tangentially and directly here on the show a bunch of times. We've talked about the internet and what it has become and how it functions and how we could functionally change it. And all of those things kind of are adjacent to this conversation. For sure. It's like the motivations for public shaming have not changed. Public shaming was always about people feeling powerful by being able to intercede with their opinion into another person's life to the point where that person's life is fundamentally changed or ruined. There's some kind of positive feedback loop in our chimp brains that likes finding an outcast and punishing it, you know. I mean, there's definitely some element of tribalism to it, for sure. What exactly the roots of that are, I think, you know, you need to talk to a fucking sociologist or, you know, psychologist, a historical psychologist, maybe. I would say so. Like, what we call cancel culture right now would not even be possible if it wasn't for the internet. The internet provided this kind of worldwide communications hub so that this type of thing could gain steam. It's like, think about it. If you're a dude, there was a dude in this show, in this documentary that I watched, who got canceled because during the pandemic, he was a wholesaler for Amazon. And during the pandemic, he bought up a bunch of hand sanitizer, right? And was selling it at a markup because it was hard to get. Now, a lot of people hated him for his predatory practices when the New York Times did a story on him. And he kind of expected that the story was going to be talking about like different Amazon retailers and the problems that they were experiencing during the pandemic. And it ended up really being a story about how this crazy dude was driving the scarcity of fucking hand sanitizer by buying up 10,000 bottles of it and blah, 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 blah. And this dude was literally like, they showed all the shit that people said about him. You know what I mean? And it varied from "you're disgusting," blah 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 blah, how dare you do this, to like, I would fucking kill you and take all that shit, and somebody should fucking come to your house and murder you, and somebody should kill your wife, and blah blah blah. I mean, it just went on and on and on and on, and this guy like blew up and went viral to the point where his entire life was ruined. The name of the documentary is 15 Minutes of Shame, and I believe it's on Showtime, I want to say. So if you've got HBO Max, you get it for free, I think. But yeah, it was a really interesting documentary. It talks a lot about the beginnings of cancel culture and just kind of like the psychological underpinnings of it. It's how you handle shame. But you're absolutely right about that. But not everybody is as dauntless as TJ is, right? So there was a woman who early on in the pandemic worked at a hospital and was obviously pro-mask, pro-vaccine, and she had a private Facebook conversation. Like, not private, nothing on Facebook is really private, but she was having like a little Facebook argument with just a friend of hers. And it was like that friend was talking about, how vaccines shouldn't be mandated or whatever the fuck. And then she said, well, you know what, if you feel that way, then you should give up your right to be on a ventilator then. It was at the time when New York State had this huge shortage of ventilator units to put people that needed them for COVID on. And so she was like, yeah, if you're not going to, mask up and social distance and not going to take this seriously, and you don't think this virus is a serious thing, then you need to give up your rights to get a ventilator. You know what I mean? Make a ventilator fucking available for somebody who did what they were supposed to do. And she was in a position of power at the hospital. I don't think she was like the boss of the whole hospital, but she was like one of the head nurses at the hospital. And Neil Caputo, the right-wing commentator turned Trump cabinet member, got wind of this Facebook post somehow and just literally blew up her life with it. Started covering it on his show, and then it spread from his show to all these other shows. And it was just this one out of context clip of her saying, like, if you don't wear a mask, you shouldn't get a ventilator. And they were like, and they literally ruined this woman's life. And she wasn't dauntless like TJ, is what, kind of the point of me bringing up this example. TJ got all this like incredible, insane shaming thrown at him, and he decided to own it. And this woman was not a super public figure. She did not want to own it. She didn't have the facility to own it. Of course, she's literally correct. And see, this is what I'm talking about. That she is a person whose life was functionally upturned and ruined, and like put into a state of flux because of cancel culture for no reason other than it made people feel good. It made people who were unhappy with the way things were going in their lives feel good about being able to directly impact somebody's life. It made people feel good to join in the tribalistic exercise of shunning the transgressor. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, they use that imagery from Game of Thrones in the documentary several times. The woman with the bell. Shame. Well, yeah, it rewards outrage, but people have to participate in the outrage mob. So to say it has nothing to do with our psychology, or little to do with our psychology, it plays our psychology. It plays into our psychology. Social media has learned certain things about human beings, algorithmically speaking. And one of those things is that outrage 110% sells. Outrage sells. Outrage drives engagement. They talk about it in this documentary that I watched about how specifically Facebook and Twitter's algorithms are designed to promote and propagate outrageous tweets or outraged tweets. And how outrage is, oh boy. Cool. These people have like a big ass tour bus. That's neat. I never knew it was like underneath. They've got one of those like big covered things that a lot of people put boats in, and I guess they've got like a fucking dually bus in that thing. That's really neat. Yeah, that's really cool. Sorry, got distracted. Got distracted by something in the neighborhood. But more than just like the algorithmic rewarding of outrage, and more than just the tribalistic impulse to join in the mass shunning of the other, there is a dehumanization that goes on that I think is the most important part of it. And the reason why I liked this documentary rather than just, you know, I wouldn't bring it up to you guys if I thought that the documentary was just kind of like, whatever. I watch a lot of documentary, let's put it that way. And to be honest with you, most of them are not great. It's hard to make a documentary. This wasn't like a fucking fantastically over-the-top great documentary, but it won me over when it dedicated, you know, a good third of its runtime to talking about the base dehumanization of people that goes on. Like, going into the point of like, all right, so we've shown you some examples of people who may not have deserved the hate that they got, but what if somebody does? What if somebody does do something that's reprehensible or mean or thoughtless? And it's just like that type of person is almost universally lambasted on the internet, but that's a human being. I mean, say what you want about it. It's a human being. And that has the idea of acknowledging that has just gone out of vogue completely. Moving out of my parents' house a couple months. Thanks for giving me courage to take the first steps. Keep the rants going, dude. Oh, neat, dude. Good stuff, Vurin. I'm glad to hear it. And I've definitely been involved in this, right? It's one of the reasons why this documentary interested me. It's not because I was looking at it from like some aloof thing and going, oh yes, look at what people are doing on the internet. Dude, I've been involved in probably 20 outrage mobs. Think about it. Tweeting about this fucking controversy or that controversy, going after somebody on Twitter, you know, blah, blah, blah. Now, I'm definitely not, it's not something that I'm doing all the fucking time. I'm definitely not an outrage mobster, but I've participated in this shit for sure. I think we all have. You know, I think anybody that's honest with themselves here watching today is going to say like, yeah, I've been involved in this at least once, if not multiple times. It's kind of witch hunty mentality, this kind of, well, fuck them, they did this, so they deserve what they're getting kind of shit. And nobody really, and I'm talking to nobody, even me, nobody stops to think like, what does it feel like to be that person? You know what I mean? What does it feel like to be that person right now? Do the wages of sin really match the fucking punishment that they're getting? Like, what did this person do? And then what is this person's life like that every moment of their life is filled with people shitting on them? Publicly, privately. They lose jobs. They lose fucking connections with people. They just become ostracized. It's just a very interesting thing to think about. Because in some cases, maybe that's a good thing. You know, so maybe there are some people who need to be ostracized from society. I don't know. But it's definitely hard to put yourself in the shoes of that person. It's like I've gotten little tastes of this stuff, little bits. You know, I'm not trying to claim I've gotten anywhere near the level that some of the people covered in that documentary or just average people have in certain cases. But, you know, there was a concerted group of people who made it a hobby of theirs to tear me down fucking every day. Every day. And this started back when it really started back when I offended the alt-right by shitting on Milo Yiannopoulos. And when that happened, there was this shift in our community and this immediate kind of tribal movement within our community to fuck on Paul. Now, some of that was absolutely, positively meaningless. Like, harmless, too. Like, you know, Paul round as a ball, Paul fat, Paul dumb, Paul filled with rhino cum. That's literally like, you know, that shit is funny. It's like third grade fucking playground funny. But then there were people who would shit talk my girlfriend at the time, pull her into it, call her all kinds of fucking names for no reason. People that would use like personal things that I'd shared to fucking try and trigger an emotional response in me. So Paul has shared that this happened, and this carjacking thing happened to him. So let's trigger Paul's PTSD by constantly fucking assaulting him with it. Just death threats, just out and out death threats. Like, I got to the point where I was getting like a death threat a day, basically, when I was on DP. And it's just like so many people carried it so far. And so that's what I think is like, some people participate in a way that they perceive as pretty harmless, but the aggregate of that shit, being on the receiving end of that shit, I'm telling you, man, if you haven't been there, if you haven't been through that, if you haven't felt that, it's not a good feeling, man. Even if you're a person like me that's got like a pretty fucking thick skin when it comes to personal insults and whatnot. Yeah, that's the difference between a lighthearted troll and an outright dick. Paul fat, Paul talk too much, that's likely to be trolling. But when they bring up your girlfriend and shit, it's pure asshole shit, yeah. I mean, and people, there's no end to what people will do. One little nugget of, they know something that you like or love or care deeply about, and there are people that think that because they disagree with you, or because you've been harsh to them in the past, or because you've been harsh to somebody they perceive as like them in the past, or they perceive your personality as being stubborn or pig-headed or confrontational or whatever it is, whatever the beginnings of the rift was, there are people that carry it to the point where it's like, this justifies me saying I'm going to rape your wife. I'm going to kill your girlfriend. If I see you in the street, I'm going to murder you. I've had all of those things said to me multiple times. Multiple fucking times. And it's just like, how do you go so far down that fucking rabbit hole? Like, what did I do, really? Said things on the internet. And it's like, that's how far it got spun out of control. This group forms a nucleus, right? So there's this big group of people, and out on the edge of the membrane, they're, Paul fat, Paul dumb, Paul talk too much. And then, like, as you get closer to the fucking concentrated center of this motherfucker, you've got like 100 people that are like, I want to kill Paul. I want to rape Paul's fucking wife. Or at the very least, I'm going to tell Paul I want to do these things. And it's just like, man, when you hear that type of shit, dude, nobody hears that type of shit. I don't care who you are. You never in your life have somebody go like, I'm going to rape your wife. Never. You don't get that message, bro. I've gotten so many, I can't even count them. So, do the math on that shit. Feels like these sort of groups very often delude in them going after each other as soon as someone comes with a compelling counter argument. Oh, well, yeah, there's a lot of infighting that goes on, but I'm just saying, like, as a person that's been the receiver of what you would call targeted harassment, I understand the psychological toll that kind of shit can take on a person, even a person that knows that the internet is the internet. You know what I mean? When you're on the receiving end of that sort of thing, it can be pretty fucking spooky. Dune leaked online. Yeah, I'm not interested. Not interested in pirating Dune. Want to make sure that Dune 2 gets made. So I'm going to pay for Dune one way or the other. I'm not even talking about this to like pity scalp or whatever. I'm fine. You guys got to trust in that. Like if it was too much for me, I would have walked away years ago from that shit. I'm fine with it. But I know that there are people out there who get the same type of shit that I get and worse. And it's dehumanizing. Yeah, see, that's what I would do if I was a person who felt like they couldn't contextualize that type of shit. If I had really no understanding of the psychology behind that sort of thing and wasn't able to contextualize it outside of, wow, this person just really hates me and probably wants to fucking kill me and hurt my family. Like if I didn't know what I knew about internet tough guys and shit talk on the internet and what anonymity does to a person, if I didn't have direct experiential history with that shit, this shit would probably hit me pretty fucking different, you know? It's never pleasant to get shit like that, but I'm from the internet, so I know what the person typing that looks like, you know what I mean? Like, I've seen them. I've seen their Naruto headbands before, and the sweat that lies beneath. That takes a little bit of the sting out of it, you know? Some people aren't that aware. Some people aren't that fucking acclimated to this type of shit. The TJ example comes up again, you know? There's a lot of people that, like, they had a video like that come out that's very explicit and, you know, just basically rips the cover off of any kind of, like, personal privacy that you had about your own body and shit. And a lot of people would have just been like, well, fuck this. I think a lot of people assumed that TJ was going to do that. But TJ went the exact opposite route. Made a video called Bananagate wore a ball gag, and just was like, yeah, I'm a kinky fuck. I put a banana in my ass and I'm gonna do it again. That was my favorite part of it. It was like, not only did I put a banana up my ass, I'm gonna do it again. I liked that shit. Like, this guy. It's unhealthy. I had to walk away from social media stuff the last few years. I lost friends and family. It caused me an unhealthy level of stress. Sure. The truth of the matter is that, and this is kind of like another sad truth about this. We can dig another layer. The people that perpetuate this kind of hate, like the people that like death threats and just like this utter mobbing of people and just moving from mob to mob to mob, just trying to ruin people. If you took them and were able to get if you were able to get a really fucking objective look at their life, they would probably be some of the most hurt, damaged people in the group. A lot of this desire to tear down other people is driven by a deep self-hatred or a deep insecurity or deep damage done to that person in their past. And so that's a whole other layer to this. It's like hurt people hurting hurt people. Pretty fucked up. That's where a lot of the Schadenfreude comes from. Seeing somebody being torn down because you've been torn down, right? Bananagate would have done a lot more damage to TJ if it happened today. Totally fucking disagree. Completely and utterly disagree. I think if anything, like kink and shit is way more fucking accepted now than it was back then. And like expression of sexuality and the idea of like revenge porn has taken root in those intervening years and is roundly rejected by most people. So yeah, no, TJ would have been fine. It probably would have been easier if Bananagate happened now. TJ would have capitalized it on it even more now. I don't know about that, but I mean, it's, I just don't think that like the intervening years between Bananagate and now would have really changed the outcome much. If anything, I think TJ would suffer like less pushback. And more open and direct support now. Whew. Oh, man. TJ OnlyFans win. You ask me another question that I can't answer that's meant for TJ, but I'm going to ban you. I'm going to ban you. I'm going to give you a ban. Did YouTube remove Top Chat? Nope, it's there. TJ has a committed wife now. It would be a big deal if a sex tape with a mistress leaked. No, it wouldn't. So you guys got to understand, man. It's only a big deal if you make it a big deal. TJ's handling of Bananagate proves that, right? The problem is that a lot of people aren't psychologically prepared to not make that sort of thing a big deal. For a lot of people, things like that are intensely, intensely private. In fact, for TJ, that was intensely private. That wasn't something that he wanted blasted all over the fucking internet, but it happened. And his response to that would not be your response to that. I can almost guarantee it. If all of the sudden you were widely known because some ex-partner of yours leaked a fucking sex tape of you or whatever the fuck, you wouldn't feel good about it. It wouldn't be a positive feeling in your life. Well, that's one of the positives, like, to the way that we operate as Pessimist Productions in general. Like, the only way that we can get pseudo canceled is by the companies that help us distribute our content. Like, in terms of like an outrage cancel, we don't have any sponsors. We don't have any corporations propping us up. We're independent creators, and so cancel away. Excuse me. Gotta love that rumbling burp. That rousing, rumbling belch. We are the sponsors. If you cheat on your wives, I'm pulling funding. Seems fair to me. Whatever. See, but you just said we are the sponsors and then said I'm. You really think that there would be like some kind of mass movement? Like, you can take your $5 and go wherever you want with it. A mass movement of people is different than your personal fucking implication that you won't give me $5 if I do X, Y, or Z. Your expectations for my life mean absolutely nothing for me. And nor should they. Nor should anyone's mean anything to you. So, I think this kind of is tangential, and it came up in another documentary that I watched last night. It wasn't all that great, though, so I won't mention it. But do you guys remember... Okay, so you guys have probably heard the Aleister Crowley quote, I suppose. The "do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law," right? This is one of the most misunderstood things, I think. A lot of people take "do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law" to mean do whatever the fuck you want, and there are no laws, and ha ha ha, and nothing matters. And that is completely and utterly not what it means. It's about your will. So do what you will, your will. It's about finding your will and then pursuing that will. So about dedicating yourself to what you perceive as your purpose. So your will for your life, it's basic. A cuter way of saying it is, follow the path of your own guiding star. It means more that than it means take off your clothes and be a deviant. Like, so many people misunderstand that quote. I'm sure that dude would pull funding of shoe on head if she cheated on her partner. Oh yeah, he would, for sure. It's not just be yourself. It's more intense than that. It's more important than that. It is discover what your will is, what your central core pursuit and purpose is, and then follow that till the end of your days. That's what do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law means. Not, there is no law, man. It's one of the most commonly misapplied fucking adages and quotes, and really applies here. Dinor's barking at mom. Sounds like building an identity. Yeah, building an identity and trusting yourself. Does that make occultism a self-help philosophy? Most philosophies could be reduced by people who misunderstand them to self-help philosophies. Much of philosophy deals with how human beings live, how they interact with one another, and how they interact with their inner selves. So, and what if any, what the meaning of all of it is. No, I have not read Man's Search for Meaning. Any advice for a 23-year-old that's having an identity crisis? No. You don't need advice. What you're going through right now is a natural part of human existence. Everyone has a crisis of identity at some point in their life. Most people have multiple identity crises, if you really think about it. Some of them, a little simpler because they're childhood identity crises. But if you actually examine your psychological history, most people have an identity crisis at some point in their life, or multiple identity crises. So I have no advice for you because you don't need any advice. You're doing just fine. An identity crisis at the age of 23 is pretty much what you're supposed to do. You're looking down the end of integrating yourself into a society, and you don't know how to do that. And that angst that you feel is what's necessary to find where you fit there. I guess the only advice that I would give is do what thou wilt. Be true to yourself. But that's meaningless advice in the face of an identity crisis, so. Oh, hello, baby. Thank you. Oh, yeah. The Star Mix. It's hard to find out what thou wilt. Yes, it is. Talking about a do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Yeah.
But you're doing fine. You're supposed to have identity crises at various points in your life. Everybody does. It's a healthy thing to question who and what you are and how you plug into your social circle and your own personal life, what you provide for yourself. It's super important for you to pursue that. I happen to think that exploring your own psychology is the most important thing that a human being can do. I have, as part of my functional ideology, a quote from a very smart person who told me that everything is psychology. It was a quote that it took me a lot of years of working with him to understand is absolutely true when it comes to the human experience. Psychology is our perception of the world and our processing of the information that we get visually, auditorily. That's psychology. That's everything to a human being. What that tree looks like is 100% psychologically based. You could have two people sit out here, look at that tree for an hour, and then write a description of it, and painters reading that description would paint two completely different trees, neither of which looked anything like that tree. Everything is psychology. Everything is perception. Everything is the way that we process information and the way that we apply it to how we feel about ourselves and where we feel like we fit amongst the group. We know things about ourselves by observing human behavior and by observing the behavior of our closest cousins in the animal world. We understand a little bit about what drives us, and we're learning more all the time. Because as this world gets more and more complex, human beings have to develop a more complex psychology in order to fucking exist in it. People are always trying to alter people's psychology. I don't know about that.
What about altering, maybe manipulating?
I mean, but manipulation is part of that person's psychology. Everything is psychology. It's an absolutist kind of statement that I've never heard defeated. From a philosophical perspective, I've never heard it defeated. As a human being, everything is psychology. Every last little thing. Every reaction that you have to every stimulus.
Your interpretation of even like the supposed cold hard facts is
all psychology. Like, once again, you can have two people in a vacuum read the facts of a case and come to two different determinations based on their prejudices, biases, and psychology. It's definitely, to me, the most interesting thing about human beings. Scotty just glowing off of your shirt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember I got your white beard?
Oh yeah, you got the misprint that's like a collector's item now.
Yeah.
The white beard Paul.
White hair Paul too.
Yeah.
Brown just didn't want to print on that one.
Santa Paul, yeah.
I know, like, I was all upset at first. I was like, oh,
And then I told you, I was like, dude, you've got a one-of-a-kind one, dude. You shouldn't be upset. Do you think that's true for other animals? Is a crow's life dominated by its emotionally driven lived experience? On a much more rudimentary level, yes. I think that obviously we share more in common with animals than we have, we share more DNA with most animals than we have different DNA. So the basis, at least, of our life all started in the same place. And so I think it functionally, like, it's one of those questions that can't be answered, right? There are people that do animal psychology, and we've discovered some things about animal psychology, but as far as quantifying what it's like for that animal and how that animal perceives it, we can only guess.
It's like even trying to figure out like animal senses. We don't really know.
Yep.
It's like we know like what their eyes and ears and shit are physically capable of. We don't know
How their
interpret
brains
that data.
process that data.
Yeah, 'cause,
We don't know. We don't know everything about it.
We like our eyes can see a certain thing, but our brain like puts it all together.
Yeah. And our brain sometimes puts things where they shouldn't be because it expects things to be there.
Yeah. Like, isn't it like we get it like upside down and our brain turns it right side up again?
Yes. Yeah, it goes through a lens and gets inverted, and then our brain puts us back on our feet again.
Which is just, seems like a dumb redundancy. Doesn't need to be there.
Kinda does, but I don't know. Do you feel uncomfortable when people say that they're inspired by you? Would you prefer people to grow themselves rather than branch off of you? I don't really, like, for me, it's uncomfortable to hear any kind of fucking like praise or positivity or whatever. I have a natural aversion to that. And so, yeah, it makes me uncomfortable when people say nice things about me. But that, I've learned over the years to graciously accept those things and understand where they come from, and it doesn't make me writhingly uncomfortable like it used to. I used to get extraordinarily uncomfortable when people would praise me for anything. And now I've learned to quantify it, but it's not my favorite thing in the world.
Well, I make you put up with it.
You do. Sticks and stones can break my bones. Yeah, all of that. I mean, all of that is one of the things I worked on in therapy for a long time, is just a defense mechanism growing up looking different than a lot of the other kids. I was a little fat kid, and little fat kids have got to develop some kind of defense mechanism to kind of battle the ostracization that they will face in groups of kids. And, mine was becoming such a ruthless self-critic that nothing mean that anybody could say to me would ever stick because I was meaner. Pretty unhealthy way of dealing with things, but I was a kid. I didn't know any better, And it's funny how those things stick with you into adulthood, and even now. Even now, after years and years of working on it, I get a really uncomfortable feeling most of the time when people say nice things about me. I would just rather not hear it. And so, to swing it back around after the tangent, people say they're inspired by me. I guess my thought process would be I would rather they just take what they learned and branch off and become their own person. Not that there's people out there, that refuse to do that. I'm just saying that, like, that to me is more important than praise for changing somebody's perspective or giving somebody a new way to think about things. I'm not really looking for the praise. I have a desperate need to be heard. I think a lot of people do. And that's obvious from the amount of time that I've spent doing this kind of YouTube shit. There's something about me that I need people to hear me. I need people to hear what I think. It satisfies something in me. And so, as a result, I've pursued that for many, many years now. And what people do with that information is really secondary to me. I like the idea that I make an impact, whether positive or negative. I like the idea that I trigger thought processes, that I trigger feelings in people, that I am, that I have the power to do that just by sitting here and speaking. There's something about that is nourishing to my psychology, and so I do it, and I do a lot of it. And I think that one of the reasons for that is because my life is dotted with people that were outspoken, that had profound effects on me, that I took a little piece of, and I ran with this and I ran with that, and I made what you would call an identity, circling back around to do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. I found my will. A fat kid named Peaches is going to have a hard time. You got that right, buddy.
That call I had with my mom yesterday, man.
Yeah. Amelia was on the phone with her mom. We were sitting out here. And I heard her mom ask, does Paul have any nicknames? I can't believe I haven't asked that before. And Amelia got this look on her face like, oh, no. She's like, yeah, he does, but I don't really call him it. And then her mom was like, well, what is it? And she's like, Peaches. Her mom laughed.
My stepdad laughed louder.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. See, that's fucked up, because I can tell your stepdad is got a little fucking bit of the troll in him. He's gonna never let me hear the end of that. He will call me Peaches till the end of my days, dude. It's okay though.
Yeah, my stepdad is definitely the dad joke.
Oh yeah, I can tell already that he's got a little bit of the troll in him. Most dads do, and so I will be Peaches over there. I know you don't watch cartoons, but the Satan stand-in on Rocco's Modern Life was named Peaches. Thanks for the hot tip. Thanks for the hot tip, yo. Yeah, my nickname was Peaches before Rocco's Modern Life was even conceived of. How's that? How you like me now? You wonder why my mom called me Peaches? Very easy. So my nickname, I have two nicknames, PJ and Peaches. And you can see that there's a little bit of, they share some things. So PJ got shortened to Peach. And I had, when I was little, my mom put me in one of those like toddler gymnastics class where they have you doing like fucking somersaults and walking on the balance beam, holding the hands of, whatever. And I had a gym teacher, and she heard my mom calling me Peach, and she thought she said peach. And so the gym teacher started calling me Peaches. And then my mom overheard that and adopted it, and that is still what my mom calls me to this day. So there you go. Pretty simple. Kind of weird, but pretty simple. It was just a weird kind of like telephone game with my first nickname. Did I ever protest the nickname? No. It's never bothered me. I actually think it's kind of cool that I have nicknames and shit, Dudes, I think, want nicknames, Like, there was a dude growing up who was a friend of the family, and I thought his name was Sugar Bear, because that's what everybody called him. His name was his nickname was Sugar Bear. How fucking cool is that? So I'll take Peaches. It doesn't bother me. I think it's funny. It adds character, and that to me is a plus, Not a lot of big hairy dudes like me out there with a nickname like Peaches. You know, it's a thing. I like it. But I also don't enforce the use of it, you know. It's like, I'll answer to whatever. Most of my partners have, in fact, I don't think I've ever had a partner that has called me anything but Paul. There's something, I guess, that people find weird about when you come into somebody's life using their family nickname, I guess. It never would have bothered me, but it's just something that never happened. Everybody calls me, everybody that I've ever dated or been married to or whatever called me Paul.
Dude, maybe that's how you appeal to the women's.
What?
Going by Peaches.
Peaches.
You guys all gotta come up with cute nicknames and little chibi avatars, and then you can appeal to the women's.
Yeah. Sounds like a southern nickname. Well, my mom herself is not a born and bred southerner, but her parents were. So she was raised very southern. Her parents were from Arkansas. Peaches. But yeah, no, I've got like pretty much the division is my nieces and nephews all call me Uncle PJ. My family member, my like sisters all call me PJ. My mom and stepdad call me Peaches. I have a couple of aunts. My Aunt Barbara will call me Peaches. I have a couple of aunts that'll call me Peaches. Let's just put it that way. And then everybody else is PJ. But then outside of my blood relations, it's 100% Paul. It's so weird. I mean, it's not weird to me. It's just weird how it lines that out. What does your dad call you? PJ. It would be weird for him to call me Paul because that's his name. Yeah. Hey, Paul. Yes, Paul?
That's probably why, like, because the family thing, there's already a Paul, so they had to...
Well, that's why I got such a hard nickname in the family, is because my parents lacked the creativity to pick another fucking name for me. So yeah, that's how it lines out. Anyone just call you Junior? Nope. What did Uncle Stinkworm call you? PJ. Do your sisters have nicknames for you? PJ.
So you couldn't be PJ on the show, because then there's TJ, and everyone can mix it up.
I mean, that's good alliteration, though. It's good, well, not alliteration, but rhyming.
Yeah.
TJ, PJ, and Scotty.
Yeah.
It's almost Harold Everett, my last name, the third. Thankful my mom put the kibosh on that shit. I'm an Everett. Paul Everett. Everett with the double T. Named after a great-grandfather that went to jail for killing somebody. Old West guy. Grandpa Everett.
Yeah, I just realized, too, like, Scotty's nickname is longer than his actual name, too.
Yep. Well, he has another one of those rare,
Yeah.
One-syllable names. Yeah, he was my great-great-grandpa, Everett. Died in prison for killing a man in the streets, so they say.
Probably everyone has at least one relative that went to jail.
Yeah, probably. I would guess. I've got multiples. Yeah, he shot a man in New Reno just to watch him die. A lot of my family like to call me Q, mostly because of my hair.
Or lack thereof.
Cue ball. Yeah, I've quite a few family members that found themselves afoul of the laws, as they say, afoul of the constable. You say your name right, it sounds even cooler. Paulie sounds like Polly. Kind of like Elrond sounds like Elrond. Well, Elrond was, his first name is Lafayette, which that's why he shortened that to Elrond for sure. But yeah, Polly was my dad's nickname, so that wasn't ever going to stick on me. Nobody's ever called me Polly. My great-great-grandfather was a murderer who fled to America and was never found again. Sweet.
Dude, I bet that was fucking hella common.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it still is.
Yeah. Like, even, like, in between states when it was all frontier-y and shit.
Yep.
There's no, like, federal fucking police force.
It was just like, well, I can stay here and be an outlaw for my whole life, or I can move west where there is no law.
Yeah.
Guess I'll go there. And back then, too, it was just like there was no social security cards or any way to verify anybody's identity, really. I mean, I guess there was probably like birth certificates and shit, maybe back then, but like you were whoever you said you were.
Yeah.
I'm Joe Smith.
I feel like a lot of it was mainly just census records, honestly.
But how many people lied on those?
Yeah.
How many people put down pseudonyms on those and shit?
So it's not like many kids were born in hospitals back then.
Yep. Yep. Change your hair, shave your beard, or grow one. Move to a place where nobody's even heard of where you're from, let alone your family, and just make up a new name, make up an occupation. Like, think about how easy it was back in the day to like scam yourself into certain types of jobs.
There was no regulations.
Nope. There were maybe some governing bodies that oversaw some shit, but not out in the fucking frontier. Yeah. You were whoever you said you were back then.
Say you're a doctor, people are going to trust you.
Yep. I mean, people still lie themselves into jobs. It's just a little harder to do now, I guess.
Gotta go to that diploma mill.
Yeah. Ugh. Tinnitus.
One of those days, huh?
Yep. My fucking allergies have been not happy. It's just been breezier, which means a lot more dust and pollen and shit in the air.
It's just like a touch more moisture in the air, too.
Yeah.
It's just enough for like certain plants to like suck up.
Yep. Oh, man. Gross. I just feel like my head from like here to here is just nothing but snot.
Can I get you one of those Claritins on?
I guess the only downside of those is like, just like with Benadryl, they make me so fucking tired.
Yeah. supposed to be non-drowsy.
Yep. I'm one of those people that like.
You're just super sensitive.
Yep. I'm sensitive to antihistamines and shit. And most allergy pills just make me like sleepy. Oh, shit. I'm honestly thinking about just popping a slab bar and letting the magic of an edible do its work today. It's been like 2 or 3 days of socked in, and this is just normal for me. It just happens, like the seasonal change always triggers huge allergies in me. I already took those, baby.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were saying that you wanted one. The Claritin.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you were sorry. My bad. Claritin. I thought you were bringing my meds.
No.
I already took them this morning.
Yeah.
Yep. Claritin, here we go. Yeah, I was just telling them that I might just fucking eat a slap bar today and let the magic of the edible work its magic. Because it's been like fucking 3 days that I've just felt socked in. It's not like that fucking cures it, but at least lets me fucking ignore some of the symptoms a little bit, I guess.
I'm getting old. I fucked up my hip just getting out of bed the wrong way last night.
You're not getting old. Get out of here. You can't start complaining about getting old until you're like 35. Then talk to me. Get out of here, getting old. Oh, I'm sorry you fucked up your hip, baby.
Humans are just too goddamn fragile.
We're ill-designed. Or ill-adapted, I guess. Mold and dampness is usually what causes fall allergies. Yeah. Well, I'm allergic to everything. And so it's the wind, blowing up dust in a very dry area where there's just lots of like pollen and plant matter and shit. We're having kind of like a little fall spring. So there's a lot of like plants that are blooming. And all that shit's getting blown on the fucking wind, and just talking about it is going to make me sneeze. I'm going to get cucked by a sneeze right now. I can feel it. Like this sneeze is going to like tease me with coming out, but it's not going to come out.
Does it help to like look at the sun?
I can't see the sun from here. There is no sun. Cucked by a sneeze.
Get you some pepper.
Yeah, I did When the Man Comes Around, and just found this like compilation on YouTube of a bunch of riots that were currently going on. I can't remember when it was. It was probably a year ago or more. I think it was still in.
I guess the IATSE strike got called off because I got a contract at the last second.
Kind of, I mean, I'm glad for the people that work there. They got a fucking contract, but, you know, it's kind of sad to see from a labor perspective because that would have been a huge amount of people hitting the streets. But like I said, I think I said it yesterday, it's pretty likely that they fucking settle with these people because they literally can't make movies without them. So good for them. it still shows the power of collective bargaining, just the threat of a fucking strike, and that's usually what happens. A lot of people don't realize that. Strike action is a last resort. Usually it's the threat of a walkout, the threat of a strike, or a work stoppage that causes the company to fold. Yeah, no, it's a total victory. Like I said, the disruption of an IATSE walkout would have been fucking crazy. But that doesn't serve those people. That doesn't put fucking bread on their table. So, as cool as it would have been to shut down that industry for a few months, I'm glad they got their concession. I'll have to look into it and see how people feel about it. A lot of times these contract concessions leave rank and file membership feeling a little bit salty because there's always give and take.
Yeah, I'm a boss. Community bosses are a little more quiet.
Yep. They have to be. I mean, you have to make, at the end, it's a, what is it, a negotiation. So you have to, they already were shut down for like 4 months last year, for some productions even longer. Yeah, I remember that was a more limited strike, but it wasn't like all of IATSE walking off. This would have been the first time that ever happened, but certain segments that were under the umbrella of IATSE walked off and shut down productions. So, yep. A strike is, like I said, it's the last resort. A lot of people think that that's what a labor union is about like, all right, let's get together, strike. No. Strike is like the nuclear option because it hurts everybody involved. It hurts the laborers because strike pay is almost never enough to cover their losses. Oftentimes these people have to go out and get part-time jobs while family members walk the strike line for them. It's never a positive experience for anybody, for the company, for the laborer, and so it's the nuclear option for sure. But when it comes to it,
I mean, it definitely probably helped that there were other strikes going on. Like, this is a strike kind of environment.
for sure. Yeah, no, for sure. Oh, so much construction.
It's probably fucking causing more allergens too. All the dust and shit that they're fucking
Whipping up. All that money people donate to politicians should go to the strike fund. The strike fund. What strike fund, bro? It's part of the problem.
There's no overarching apparatus.
Yep. I really think there needs to be some kind of umbrella organization that all of these little specialty unions have coverage underneath. You'll have to deal with any shortages out there. I hear places are short on pumpkins.
We don't give a shit about a pumpkin.
Yeah, we're not looking for a pumpkin.
The only time we use pumpkin is when Dinor has an upset tummy.
Yeah.
And that's canned pumpkin. They're not running out of canned pumpkin.
Yeah. No, I'm not having any trouble getting a pumpkin. I don't care to have a pumpkin. Pumpkin shortages. Jesus fucking Christ, man. Why are the flies attracted to the instrument of death? They literally land on the salt gun that will be their demise. And on the ammunition that will kill them.
Yeah, maybe they want some salt. It's tasty.
Yeah. Oh boy. You recommend any good horror for the season? Sure.
You always gotta watch Pumpkinhead for Halloween.
Yeah, Pumpkinhead is a great movie. If you've never seen it, or if you've seen it once, it's worth watching again. Great movie for the Halloween season, I agree. Newer movies, you know, the A24 films have been really good. The Witch is a great horror flick. Hereditary is pretty cool. Midsummer, my favorite of the three. Could always watch some old horror, some old black and white Night of the Living Dead. If you've never seen it, it's worth a watch.
House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah, get a little Vincent Price in your life, you know.
Or join the Patreon and watch those with the guys.
Yeah, that's true.
You guys watched House on Haunted Hill together, I'm pretty sure.
Yep, I think we did. Yeah, we've been watching a lot of silent horror films recently. That's been pretty cool.
And even then, that silent film got acclaimed.
Yep. Completely and utterly copyright fucking free in the public domain, gets acclaim. Unreal. Unfucking believable.
Everyone involved in that movie's probably been dead in the ground for 20 years.
At least. Gonna watch some TV with my girl. Have a great day, Paul. Not an airport, but whatever you say, buddy. Now departing, Taylor DeGrace.
You know what? Those ants are probably carrying away those fucking fly corpses.
Good. The circle of life.
I see one of the corpses like twitching. It's being carried.
Yep.
Trying to be carried.
Good. Get them.
As long as you guys stick to the fly corpses and out of the house, I guess that's fine.
Yep. Don't you just love people who have to announce their departure to the whole chat? Yes, I do. It's my favorite part of the day. Some of the most fruitful conversations that we've had started with somebody saying, "Hey guys, I'm gonna get on up out of here." Everybody's like, "Whoa, yes, yes. Brilliant." Oh, man. I was wondering how long it was going to take for the illustrious new account that's never been here before, Titty, to get banned. And it happened today. Shocking. Shocking. Best conversations come from people who say, "This made me unsubscribe." Yeah, that's true. I always love those. I don't give a fuck. Can I unsubscribe you twice?
4 feet today, man.
Hey, whatever. I'm willing to take it. That's what's got to happen. The morning crew is better than the evening crew. Not necessarily. It just depends on which way the wind is blowing, usually. Sometimes we get really good shows with insightful and good comments. Sometimes we just get fucking... Like last night was one of those for sure. I started one up last night and it was just literally 100%. I was like, all right, fuck this. I'm out. One for the waste bin of history. The only thing I liked about it was the way I ended it. Somebody asked the question, Paul, what's the most impulsive thing you've ever done? And I said, ending this stream. End. That's why I left it up. It was a total thrill. Anyway, I'm out of here. I'll see you later. Bye.